Hi, viewers, friends, and family. I want to heartily thank you for your consistent viewership and followership of our content, particularly since we started the Tea with Dr. Tim. And to get to the specifics, we've been talking about purpose for almost 2 months now. And the results and feedbacks we have gotten have been very encouraging. I want to thank you all. Thank you so much. And as we bring this discussion around purpose to a close, it has been an insightful journey for me as well, even as a content creator. The findings I've made, the discoveries I've seen, I've come to realize even some gray area as regards to purpose, both for my personal self and then even for my teachings as well. And I hope you've also found or had same experience during this journey. So today is the last day of our Tea with Dr. Tim as it relates to purpose. And yesterday I started out summarizing and rounding up on the subject. I touched just a few parts from all what we've discussed because we have churned out over 40 content topic areas around the subject on purpose. So I will not be able to summarize the whole thing just in 2 sessions. However, the areas I'm summarizing or touching on today and of course yesterday does not necessarily mean they are the most important. Every aspect we've spoken about are all essential and important, but just a few we can lay our hands on, we are just touching on just to wrap up this. And then after today, we'll be taking a short break on this special program, Tea with Dr. Tim. And then we will be right back again, fast and furious. Touching on the subject in summarizing the topic around purpose. Today, I want to touch back on the life's begging, craving question that many of us are yet to answer. Some have not even taken time to ponder around it. And these questions are like haunting shadow. They will continue to haunt you until you give them the answers they desire and deserve. And when we talked about this at first, the first question was, who am I? And of course, we did discuss that question is not about gender orientation, but it's about you as a person. Who are you? This does not have to do with your name in terms of self-introduction, but it's about you as a person. We have some names in our world today that we could mention. As you hear that name, just at the speed of light, there is something you can attach to that name. Let's take, for example, Barack Obama. Once you hear that name, within a split of seconds or less than 5 seconds, you can summarize who that man is. I'll mention another person, Donald Trump. Once you mention that name, as you summarize it, there is something you can pick out of that name. And if we get into the music world, we go into politics, we talk about religion, music, comedy, science, and different areas of our human endeavor. There are names we call in leadership. There are names that we call that they ring a bell immediately. In fact, we think more about what they have done, their essence, their impact and legacy, before we even remember if that individual is a man or a woman. We think more about what history they have made before we even remember whether they were black or white. So, again, the question, who am I? And until that question is answered, you cannot be on an ultimate search to find out who you are. And then next to that is, where did I come from? And of course, I took us through a journey through one of my books that I wrote in 2018, The Nigerian Dream, Find Your Voice. And in that book, before I spoke about our source, where we come from, I did share about the 3 circle that talks about our passion. I talked about our talent. And then I talked about our voice. And right there, at the middle, at the nexus of all this, I spoke about what our source code is. Thereafter, I then took us into a journey, or I now took my readers into a journey where I talked about our source. And our source is from such an infinite field of possibility. It's not just about motivational speaking. It's not about religion. It's pure science. We are from a field of endless possibility, which also means that we can be, do, and have anything. And in fact, the geniuses that we have ever known in the world, in the history of humanity, have not used up to 10% of their mind capacity. So now think about you. So if you can even afford to use 3 to 5%, that will take you to some point. So important is, where did I come from? And then the next is, why am I here? Because it's about your mission, your purpose, your essence. Why am I here? You see, the Creator had a vision. He had a goal. He had an objective in your creation. Again, this is not being religious. He had an essence, an objective in your creation. Let's look at a teacher in the classroom as an example. Every teacher had once taught. I taught for some time in my life. And every teacher has what they call objective. Every trainer, every speaker also has an objective. Every conference organizer, program facilitator, they all have an objective. What they intend to achieve at the end of that program. For the the teacher in the classroom, as an example, in the lesson note, she writes, at the end of this lesson, the student should be able to, she then begins to list all those things. But then, for us in life, it's important to know that before we showed up here, we didn't just come up like from the Big Bang Theory. We just appeared from nowhere. No, there was an essence. There was a reason. We came from somewhere. And we're here to do something. And there was an intent before we showed up. Now, if, as an example, a teacher who has an objective gives her very best in teaching, and at the end of the session, the child fails, who's responsible? Having understood that this teacher has taught several other people and they've done exceptionally well, and then this other kid fails, who's responsible? And then when you now go back to make some further findings, you realize that the child doesn't study. The child plays or sleeps in class. The child doesn't even have a note to write with. So it's very important. We then come to a conclusion that the failure comes from the child, because the teacher had an objective and tried to fulfill that, but that child actually decided to go contrary to that. And so are we. If we do not fulfill purpose, if we do not find out why we're here and begin to work towards achieving it, then we are going to be the ones to be at fault. And then we're going to be the failure itself. And see, it does not take a lifetime to find out who you are. It just takes a serious mind, seeing the need, taking the time out, and then finding out. Having said that, and then the next one now is, where am I going to? It's a matter of destination. It's a matter of legacy. What are you leaving behind? Where you're going to, where you're heading to, what are you leaving behind? What would you be recognized for or known for when your name is mentioned? Very important. Where am I going to? At the climax of life, when we begin to examine our various lives, we begin to mention names. And your children, grandchildren, begin to make reference And they're trying to understand, what was my grandfather? Who was my grandfather? And then you're trying to explain to them that other person was my mate. The person who is the number one to do this in the world was my classmate. I actually know this other lady who... I begin to give those examples. And then the question they'll ask is, when you were 40 years younger than this, where did you see yourself going to? These are very salient and important questions. Now, the next aspect we also touched on was on staying aligned and staying focused. We also shared there that there will be different things that will come to distract you. You will have reasons to think maybe this is not it. It might be as though you are on the slow lane. But then when you understand this is your purpose and you want to stay focused, let's give an example. We have a 3-lane road, an express road. We're on the service lane, we're on the middle lane, and then on this other lane. And then it so happened that as you're driving, you're on the fast lane because you know that you're not branching off. But then it so happened in front of you, you're realizing that there's a roadblock and it's telling you 500 yards, keep right. 500 yards, keep right. And you're still going. And then you realize 350 yards, keep right. 350 yards, keep right. And then you now realize that on your right, the cars are slowing down. What are you supposed to do? I expected to still keep running, pressing on the gas to keep going. No, you just have to slow down until you can find a safe space and then you veer off. Another illustration, still using the same. You're driving on the service lane and now you realize that there is a traffic on your lane because you all are trying to go on the other side to climb the bridge. On your left, you find out that, well, I'm using the example of the road in the UK. Now, on your left, you realize that the road seems to be having a free flow. But on your side, there's this traffic. And you're slowing down and slowing down and slowing. And somebody's thinking, why not just go on this lane? The lane is moving fast. The lane is going well. Why not go on the fast lane? Why staying on this lane that is slow and stagnant? And the response to that is, that lane does not lead to my destination. Stay focused. Don't be looking at those, how fast they are going, how well they are doing, how quick they are moving. You want to stay focused on your lane and make sure that you're able to contribute as much quota as possible to the purpose, the focus, the essence while you're here. And then the next thing, just before I wrap up, is on don't underestimate your purpose. Think about anybody, just think about anybody we know in the world today. Those who have made life easy for us. You think about electricity, the airplanes, the ship, the cars, the food, even the meals, the different recipes we have. Just think about even the clothes we put on. Think about people who have made life easy and more comfortable, even in medicine. And just look at it, that what if these people did not take that essence, that objective, that purpose seriously, and they saw it as another distraction, another slow way, another thing that's going to be difficult for them to do, and they're trying to find maybe a 9-to-5 job, something easier for them to do. What would our life be like today? Think about it. Now, and I also did say that the challenge you're going through or you've gone through, your past might be a mark telling you about what the future holds. Because the past is history. The future is a mystery. The present, or today, now, is a present. Don't joke with it. On the flip side, the past being a mystery, being a history, is something to take as a clue to look at what does the future holds. And with this clue, connecting the dots, they can help you understand what is actually your essence. And that can help you go through life. And then when you now realize, for example, you're having difficulties in relationships, you've gone from one to another, to another, to another, or you're having health challenges, or financial challenges, or difficulty in one area or the other, and you wake up one day and realize that that's where your purpose lies. And think about how many girls out there who will grow up to be women whose lives and destinies and relationships are tied to yours. How would you live your life and handle your purpose? And then, of course, where are we going to? It relies largely on purpose. It relies largely on the legacy we want to leave behind. As I bring this to a close, I do hope that you have taken time out. And if you haven't yet, please don't wait for a perfect time, because there's nothing like a perfect time. You make the time perfect. Find your purpose. And if it is money you're looking for, relevance, fame, comfort, my dear, all of these things are byproducts when you find purpose. Thank you so much for joining me today, and stay glued on this space. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, kindly do so. And as we come back online, starting again our Tea with Dr. Tim, you're going to be finding much more amazing content as we come back live with full force. Thank you so much, and be well.